Well, welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Kirk Fisnick. I'm up here in beautiful Fargo, North Dakota. The weather's always nice. That's why people move to North Dakota. We're known for our nice weather, and it's 2 days after Christmas, and I'm just thinking about next week. It'll be 2020 already, and I think a lot of people have thought about what's going to happen in the next decade, and so I was talking to Tom. I was chatting with Tom yesterday, and he said, "Well, I'll be on the call with you guys. I'll share some information." And I was listening to the call you did this morning, Tom, and you were talking about the new product that you have coming on, the one that you haven't really given a name. We'll just call it Product X for now. I'm sure you have a name for it. You're just not sharing it. But you were also
We'll call it the Big Fizz.
the Big Fizz. That'd be a great product. I mean, it'd have to be superior, vastly superior. And then you were talking about another product that you have ready to launch possibly in the spring of the year. And so I'm excited about that. But you and I were talking about really the fact that our opportunity, the opportunity to share these products, the opportunity to make an income is probably the best product that we have. And so I thought, possibly we could get you to share a little bit about that tonight as well. And so Tom, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you. I'll mute myself out and stay quiet over here.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Happy New Year coming up to you. I hope you all had a really nice Christmas. I know mine was fine. And, if you're with family, that's the most important thing. And it's not just a saying, it's such a real experience that goes on, and you know how much you care for them and those people mean to you. And so we get so far apart sometimes that it's difficult for us to come together at times. But it seems like Christmas and Thanksgiving, those things can be done at that time. And we all leave feeling like, oh, we need to do this more often. It was so pleasant to do, and getting reacquainted with loved ones, brothers and sisters, some you haven't seen for many years. And so we went and did that. Now with that, I work all the time. Not me, like Kurt. He's a single bachelor up in North Dakota, and I'm a bachelor down here in Utah. So at least he's got a dog. I don't have a dog. And so anyway, my spare time when I'm done is I don't want necessarily to go home. I spend my time working for you, finding out things, and I always go to church. Sometimes come down for church, and I'll have weeks without a day off. Why am I doing it? Because I make more money? No, it's because I believe in what I'm doing and what I can provide for you. So there's some tremendous changes coming, and it's more than symbolic, and it's more than philosophical. The changes that are happening to our society is going to shake you right to your very core. If you could but even visualize what they are, and that's within about a 10-year period of time, and some things a little longer. So I'll try and give you some time frames on this and what's going on. Right now, we have a fairly sophisticated society, don't we? And it's the greatest nation ever existed on the history of the earth. The stock market just hit 9,000. Never did that before. Sensational. When you look at things like the average income, it's the highest it's been for everyone, including all minorities. On top of that, and unemployment's the very lowest it's been. We're in really an idealistic place. However, here's what happens: is knowledge is accumulative, and sometimes you come to a point that it's a milestone. So if you think about things where they had the Iron Age and the Bronze Age, see, those kind of showed big changes within society. Then you had the Industrial Revolution that came through over 100 years ago or so with what was going on. But now in 2020, we're going to have the most massive changes that have ever happened on Earth. In fact, it's estimated that in 10 years, after 2020, 10 years later, the total knowledge of the world will have doubled. That means everything we've learned from the foundation of this country and before that is now in a 10-year period of time going to double. What are we going to do with all that knowledge? What is it going to be? How's it going to affect us and what we're doing? It's going to have a profound effect on us because we have a lot of things that we're not prepared for. And most of the students that are going to university now are getting the education in the wrong thing. There are some, the sciences, mathematics, engineering, those things are going to be there, computer programming. But many of the other fields that people are going in, including medicine itself, are going to be severely curtailed because of a number of important things such as artificial intelligence, which is coming on very, very quickly. And it scares me because they're saying that they think by 2040 that they will be able to take your personality and store it in the cloud. Everything that you are to be restored. Well, I mean, how does it restored? But saved, it's you, it's everything. Will you have intelligent thought in there? I don't know. Those are suppositions. And some things no, but you know what? Maybe yes, with how it is, because the advancements are so great. Of course, we see self-driving cars coming, see electrical cars coming. Okay, so those things are technologically more advanced and coming on. But here's what's really going to do some damage, I think, to our society, which you have to be careful for, is knowledge is going to go from, the way we work and the way we earn our income is going to change. The traditional worker model isn't going to work anymore because the jobs that people are doing right now, that which you are doing, very likely, and that can even includes education, very likely will metamorphose and change. And that will happen in a very short period of time. Much of it will happen in the next 10 years. And the one thing that's going to happen in the next 10 years is all of the productive things that we've been doing in life, what you're creating, making, or earning, the jobs that you're doing are going to be obsolete. So are you going to be obsolete? No, but what you do is going to be obsolete. And so there's going to have to be some massive programs done to figure out how to retrain people to do things and to do what? Because we're going to go mostly from a manufacturing society to a society of services and things like this. And much of it will be controlled by artificial intelligence that's there and all types of sophistication. In fact, they think by about 2025 that the total knowledge of the world you'll be able to draw on yourself wherever you're at your fingertips, perhaps without a cell phone or whatever you have. I don't know. That isn't my field, but I do know what they're saying because I deal with a lot of the top, most advanced scientists in the world. And I just attended a seminar and I had a few that flew into my house. And we had a meeting on some of these things because I'm concerned about it. So if we take a look at this, and suddenly the job you have is being done by a robot, or it is not needed any longer because technology has made another way to do it better, faster, cheaper, and you're obsolete, so to speak, for that job. So what about all the college graduates? They come out of there, and I'll tell you, I thought it was a big mistake when they did it. Now they find out it is true. But when they allowed students to finance loans, when I went to university, and I'm sure you did too, Doc, I paid for my university. I worked hard in the summers. I worked part-time. And when I got out of school, my education was paid for. But that's not the way it is now. Now they're graduating and they're being pushed to do it. Why? Because if you really want to think about this, and I think most of us have not, but consider this. The huge loans are guaranteed by the governments. And so there is no reason for upper education to be efficient. And they gouge these students tremendously. In fact, the cost of education has been going up about 8% every single year. Those are huge increases that are happening. And so here you have somebody graduating from the university, and maybe many of them that have got a degree that have spent $100,000-$200,000, as many have, are going to be in a field where there is no demand for them. Or if there is, that's going to go away. And so they've been educated and trained, and they have this massive debt, and all of that is there. So it's very scary, exciting in some ways. I like being surprised, a lot more than that, but I like knowing what I'm doing too. We all have that nature. But the one thing that's really going to overwhelm us, I think, is how much technology will be there at an instant. If you can, they're saying in 15 years from now, 2035, that whatever is known in all the world and everything, it will be right there instantly for you. You'll have to, maybe kind of like this Alexa that they have for speaking on a grand scale, far beyond that you'll simply ask and the answer will be there. I don't know how it's going to be there for, if it's spoken to you, see it, or do a combination, but that's how it's going to be. So it doesn't matter necessarily in a lot of ways how smart you are. It's because the information, you ask the question, the information will be provided to you. So what you've got to do is decide how you're going to take care of what you're doing with it. If you have an income and you have a job and suddenly it's obsolete and you have a big debt on your house, so how are they going to take care of that? Are we going to look at socialism, or are we going to look at paying for everything for people? If that's the case, we'll soon have, all of us will have very little, except some of the people who are by far the most, am I still on?
Yes, you're still on, Tom. We're listening to you.
Oh, okay. I had something come out, and so I thought it was. So long as I'm on, I popped the cord. So
okay.
So anyway, when you think about this kind of thing and where you're at and what you're going to be, what kind of life you want to have, the opportunities to do it, the times that we've had all this pioneering that we could get into, and with the technological changes and advances and automobiles and airplane travel and all of the different types of manufacturing we can do, those things are going to get automated, and you're going to get automated out. So they think for the tasks that need to be done in this super advanced society, we'll need a much smaller workforce to do it. And yet, on the other hand, what's happening to the population here in the world? When I graduated school in 1960, at that time, there were about, if I remember correctly, it was about 1.6 million or billion people here on the earth. At the turn of the century, 1900, I think it was like 800 million. You have to realize in the Chinese time of the emperors and the Great Wall, they had 50 or 60 million Chinese, and that's all that was in the country. But look what they did. So now we sit with China sitting there approaching 1.5 billion, maybe on to 2 billion. India is the same. And between those two, they'll have 3 to 4 billion people just in those two countries that are there, plus the rest of the world population. And so it will be, they determined that by the year 2040, we're going to have 12 billion people here on Earth. Whereas if you go back in just 140 years, we had 800 million. And in that 140 years, we're going to jump, that massive jump, to where we have 12 billion versus less than 1 million just 140 years before. So what's going to happen to our resources? How are we going to make food? Well, big farms are being automated, and with vast amounts of things to do, and everything from planting to weeding to harvesting to processing in many of the fields of agriculture, which used to be labor intensive, are now automated, done by satellite. They can be cutting grain or wheat, things like that, or any other crops, and they can have gigantic machines that look like they're from Star Wars. Those things are there now, folks, and they have somebody that's sitting in a building there with a joystick and a screens and sets everything and makes sure it's done, and they do everything exactly the same every time where they're at. So we're going to have that ability to produce more food, but there's got to be some limiting factors. And what scientists say, and it's calculable, that the world has a certain amount of fresh water. It's really kind of interesting because the Amazon has 20% of all the world's water. A lake in Russia, Baikal, has 20% of all the world's fresh water. So that takes it out to where 40%'s gone right there. The Amazon doesn't do us a lot of good, and the Lake Baikal does not either. And it empties into the Arctic north. It flows where most of the other rivers and things that we're used to here in Europe and around, they flow to the sea here. In Russia, they have, I think it's 7 gigantic rivers that all flow northward up to the North Pole, of where they can't grow anything. They have a growing season of maybe 3 months, limited with bitter colds and huge ice packs that form. And when it starts to build up these ice packs, they have tens of thousands of square miles that are covered with nothing but ice every single year. So where's that fresh water gone? Here's the point. By 2050, virtually all available fresh water will be gone. And that is here, we're going to have a big battle because it's going to be so highly contaminated with toxins. Now, hopefully science would get to the point where we can take care of it better than we have before. But when you think you have the massive pressure on of 12,000 or 12 billion people demanding that same amount of fresh water, that's hard to conceive how we're going to do that. And then when you have no job, what are you going to do? What are they going to do? When I say they, I'm talking about government or associations. They've got to design something. Maybe you can spend all day not doing anything and still get paid. What kind of character does that build? What does those things do? Suppose you do have some type of a job that you can do. Well, most things are going to be so automated, your income is going to be fairly stagnant. And it's going to be, as they start doing things for more people because there's no need for them and we have to take care of them, the amount of money we earn is going to go down, down, down. Now, there's a lot more to it than that. I'm just giving this off the top of my head so you know I've been studying it, talking about it with those kind of things. But the one thing that's happening, it's just like global warming. Global warming is so advocated by a number of people, but it's really a political issue. Now, I have a couple ranches. I love the outdoors, and the environment means a heck of a lot to me. And I would defend that. In fact, as I helped found Sportsmen for the Environment, a big organization here, and Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife. I've put a lot of money into those and a lot of time to make them work because they're there. But what we're going to have is a situation now to where those things are not going to be really available. It's just like in Utah right now, we have the Rocky Mountains that come up, and we have streams that have a lot of fish in and lakes that have a lot of fish. But if you go and catch a trout from a beautiful mountain stream or a lake, you can't eat it. The reason you can't eat it is it is so contaminated with mercury in all the streams, in all the lakes. How did it get contaminated? It didn't used to be. It's from China. We have these big clouds of smog and pollutants coming from China clear across the Pacific. And it gets through, it goes over California, Washington, Oregon. Then it comes down in, and when it hits the Rocky Mountains, it takes a lot to get over those because they're big things. And so the air dumps the heavier particles. And so now all of our streams and lakes are so contaminated with mercury that the fish are not healthy to eat. I never would have conceived that when I was younger, but those are the things that are happening. So now if I can put this brief introduction into it, there's more coming out of that. Scientists, I just met with some, and they're predicting that immortality will be reached in 2045, somewhere around there. 2045, that's 25 years from now. Immortality will be attained. Well, I know you're probably sitting there like most people and say, how can you be immortal? Well, it's very easy to be immortal. There are things here on this earth that are immortal already. There's organisms in the deep sea they have found, and there's one particularly, which is kind of a jellyfish. And that jellyfish itself, if you find one, and they're there, is 1.5 billion years old. And they have many down there that are over 500 million, up to 1 billion years old. There are many in those environments. They don't die, and they regenerate themselves, and they take care of all these things. So if a thing like a simple little, very small little jellyfish can be immortal, yeah, the feasibility of transposing that over to us is really great. So things are going to happen that way. But I like immortality to start now. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to put you on the road to immortality. And that's going to be our theme for this next year. The most important thing about our company is we're really the Trekkies of this industry. We're going where no one has ever gone before, doing things they've never done before. And why not? We can do it. It can be done. What it takes is drive, direction, caring, passion, resources, all of that. I have that. You have that. Collectively, we put it together, and we have our company. Not my company, our company. That's the way I look at it. And we can do things that other companies would never dream of doing. All we need is you. You are the most important part of what this is. But then if you're going to do this, if you've got a period of time, let's say that the economy which is growing, will be leveled for income in 10 years or 15 years. That means your income is going to go down. Costs will come up with this thing. You may not have a job. You may be getting a minimal subsidy, even if you are working or not, with that kind of thing. And so what are you going to do about it? You're not going to do anything about it. You won't have your options. Now, granted, there will be some things, but don't be superfluous about this, because this is not just a laissez-faire situation. This is one that's really genuine, real. We're marching down that path. It's not something that's science fiction envisioned. It is now becoming reality. It can be seen, it can be achieved, and it will be, whether we like it or not. And I don't like it, but we got to live with what we got. And so my mission to tell you is you got about 10 years to build the kind of life you want, so you can, not just for you, but for your family. And you have a fantastic opportunity right now to do this for your family in this period of time. Because as many of you, and probably most of you that are on this call know, there is no company on planet Earth that is like Sizzle. The products we make are state of the art. They're beyond comprehension. We don't take just something that will work. We add to it to make it work better, 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 better. And that's how we're building these things. So we have two things that we're doing. We have a compensation plan that makes money, builds money. And we have products that gives you health, and it also is a foundational money generator for you. So we're talking about products that give you health and generate money. We have a compensation plan that is so extremely generous. If you considered what most companies make and what they're running on with big volume, and you realize what our commissions are. If you sit there and you look at, if you've got a big organization, you can look down that organization and you can say, oh, you know what? I'm getting 45% or more of everything I've spent. It works out that much comes out of that Downline to me, done level by level. 7 generations, 7 levels is 49. And that doesn't include all the other bonuses that we have on top of it. So you have an exponential reward. The products you sell, the work you do, the productivity, the new distributors you sign as your business expands, all geometrically increases for you so that you can have much more than if you did it on your own. The day of the traditional worker is over. That is our previous world. It's up to where many of us are right now. But if you're in the business of being or in a job and you're a traditional worker, you're doing things that are becoming obsolete. So while that change, you may evolve to a certain degree. What do you think it's going to be like in 10 years or 15 years? It's going to be shockingly austere with tremendous abundance in lots of things, but overall, a little for you here and there and us with it because they got to share the wealth. I hate that philosophy because we have a lot of socialists in America that want to share it right now and break the country and the economy in doing it. But the one thing that you can do is you can take care of things yourself. You have a chance to do that because when you're a traditional worker, you're really trading your time for dollars. So if you work 40 hours in a week and it was $10 an hour, for an example, it's $400 a week. That's it. You're set. Now the company can be making huge profits. You don't share in that kind of thing. Once in a while, you get some piece out of what they're doing. But you look at the auto workers now where, yeah, the top leaders are all being prosecuted going through because they've been robbing this income from themselves, from the union members that are there. So here you've got a company like Sizzle. We're huge. We're debt-free. We're one of the largest manufacturing plants in the world. We have by far vastly superior products, far advanced in science to anything that has ever been created. And it won't stop. Why? Because I won't let it. Because God's blessed me with resources and a scientific mind and a sales and marketing mind, which is an odd combination to put together. It's kind of like the way that Doc Fizz dresses. You know, he said, why would you wear that shirt with those pants? Well, the same thing is applicable here. If you have a great deal of personality that is scientific, it's like accounting. And if it's sales or marketing, it's just the opposite. It's more gregarious. So you're kind of looking at a half empty versus a half full status. And that those two personalities aren't the same. But I've had another bunch of profile tests taken over my period of life. And two of them that I've had taken, one of them for one of the largest companies. And I just give a little credibility for what I'm saying. They were a large division of Dell Chemical. And what they said is you're on the scientific side. Now it's a chemical manufacturing company and a big one, even international. And they said, when it comes to the science category, you're off the chart. We've had thousands of scientists working here, and we've never had anyone with as high aptitude. And that's not knowledge, as aptitude as you have. And I said, well, that's good, isn't it? And they said, yeah, but scientists don't make good salesmen. But in the sales and marketing area, because I was applying for a sales position in it, they said, you're off the charts. We've never had anybody score that high. And they said, we can't figure it out. I said, I can tell you real simple how to figure it out. Think of me like Popeye. I am what I am because that's what I am. And that's the way it is with me. It's the way God built me. And plus, thank goodness, because of my mother, my grandmother, great-grandmother. And I think I own everything every single thing that I am, have been, will be, to my angel mother and my grandmothers that cared and give it to me. Not Dad. Now, Dad was a good guy, hardworking, very smart. But that relationship you have with your mother is a deeper bond with it. And it really is what makes the quality of people, just like it's the quality of life. As I went to my son's Christmas party, and it was so elaborately decorated, everything done so well, and on such a big scale, I realized Men didn't have anything to do with this, other than maybe they made the money that paid for some of these things. But the detail and what the quality and everything there is because of that God-given nature that women have for beauty and perfection and doing things right and going the distance and all that. So we have all of our, I'm kind of rambling here, but we have our personal traits and tendencies, abilities, genetic, out of inheritance. I don't know what it all is, but I do know one thing, and I can testify to you for that. God's given me what I am. I believe in God, and I believe also that there's the scripture says, "Unto whom much is given, much is expected." And I'm great with that because I want to keep giving more and more and more and doing it. I'm not doing this thing for the money. I'm doing it for you. That's why I'm telling you about this. So now what you've got to do is, as I was talking about the products, you realize that we have these sensational, fabulous products. We have this extremely generous, fair, easy to qualify compensation plan that over rewards you. The products, we hype the products up. Our products exceed the hype. The other companies' products, they hype them up and the performance doesn't meet it. In fact, it's many times they do nothing. Many times they have toxins, all of those things. You kind of know the story. So you've got a lot of things to go with. Now, how many people would like, for wherever your age is right now, just let me ask you, if you could continue to age the rate you're going, how many of you would like to live to be 120? Put your hand up. See, not many hands. But if you could live like you were right now until 120, now would you like to make it to 120? My hand's up because I would. We have that potential to do that right now. In fact, as researchers are saying that a child born today should live somewhere between 200 and 400 years. That's their estimate. These people are not quacks. These are real scientists that have an extensive knowledge of longevity, of anti-aging, and of aging, all of these things that come in. Well, I can read what they publish. I know much of this as well as they do. In fact, as many things I know better than they do because they think in tunnel vision. That's how scientific mind works. And lateral vision puts different components together so that the total that you get out of a formulation is greater than just the sum of the individual parts with it. So we have that gift that we can work with to make products that are literally to die for. These are the products, but they'll make you live. And so we're on the road to immortality right now, and we're thundering down that. How long are you going to live? I don't know. But I do know this. Nobody's got a product like the age pill. There's a couple of them that are being sold that address NAD production. Nobody addresses on the level that we do. But that's only part of the cell. The cell's like a motor. It wears out, it gets built up, and your stem cells that are producing all the other cells, they start slowing down with age. So there's a bunch of factors there that take place with it. At one time at conception, you were one cell. And what you were is you were a stem cell. But within that, all of the components of your body was created as that cell started to divide. And stem cells are like the chicken that lays the eggs that keeps producing it. And so they start producing new cells to replace the muscle cells and the bone, and the hair, everything that's going. They wear out too, those replacement cells, but they're expendable. So they're gone and the stem cell replaces them. But over a great period of time, they deteriorate to, most of them, to almost nothing, where your stem cell activity, if you're in your 70s, is usually somewhere 2 to 5%. That's it. When you're 18, it's already starting to decline on you. When you get 50, you've got about 75% of your stem cells that were there and building you when you're 20. 75% of them are dormant, and the others are in rapid decline because you're headed for the potential of dying an average age. But things are changing in our society. For the third or fourth consecutive year in a row, the average lifespan has gone down. year after year after year. I believe this one is 4 years that it's done that. Well, people are bragging about how do we, we've done things to get our lifespan so much higher. Well, that's true in some ways because we've cured a lot of incurable diseases. But look at the real facts. Our medicines got better. So it used to be 1 in 7 women and child died in childbirth. Well, think of that. Every 7 women that are having a baby, one of them dies and the baby dies. What do you think that does to the average lifespan? And we didn't have all the different things, and people used to die of things like yellow fever. Have you heard anyone getting yellow fever? Smallpox around, all those kind of things. We've cured those. So as that's happened, then you don't have those things knocking you off all the time, and you're going along. But what's happening in the deep sea? You've got a little jellyfish and there's a little squid that's in there too, and that they have been kicking around for 1.5 billion years. And so they have the ability to do it, but you're on the decline. You're expendable. But we have a system to come in and to reverse that. And the first thing you have to do, it's not just quite that simple. It's just quite complex, and we try to make it simple as you can because people don't want to know about the features. They want to know about the benefits. That's what you sell. So we have this sensational line of products. What's our best product? That's easy to say. If you look at our health products, the Age Pill is the single greatest product ever developed in the history of human health because it can take those declining stem cells and bring them back up to levels of where your biological factors that are functioning, that are left, will be running like you were in your 20s again, not like you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s as they're getting worse, so we can return those. But so it's the single greatest product in the history of health, human health, I think. And I say I think for a very good reason, because we're about to introduce something that's coming out, and I think it'll be out by the end of next month. We're pushing it very hard that is so technologically advanced and compatible with the Age Pill. Because if you understand one thing, the Age Pill works with the stem cells that are still active, still working. But as life goes on, they start falling off. So you have less activity and less activity. And the stem cells don't die, they're dormant. They go into dormancy. Now, when they're declining, as they are in all of us, from our teens on, that's called senescent. And that's a decline in activity. When they become dormant, that's called senescent. And so that means it's dormant. But they're not exactly dormant. They don't reproduce anymore, but they are a horrific force to damage your health, to greatly reduce your lifespan. They cause most of the major diseases because they exude toxins, and these toxins go in and they actually are coming out. Now, this is a hypothesis, but I believe this, and some other researchers do too, and it makes absolutely, to me, logical conclusions of it. The dormant stem cells want to be replaced, and the body does replace them through normal processes, and usually it's called apoptosis, and that's a word for cell death, apoptosis. Now, it's not one you're used to, but you'll get to know it, because apoptosis is an epigenetic response to the products that you take, or the products that the body produces to try and get rid of them. The problem is, as you get older, that declines a lot. And then your immune system, which has been with you from birth, it is deteriorating, going down, wearing out, and you see a tremendous decays and degeneration. In fact, as if you look for, as an example, with women are very vulnerable to toxins, much more than we are, because many of those are estrogenic driven, and they cause so many problems: weight gain, breast cancer, heart attacks. Women's heart attacks are higher than men's in rate, and yet they live a cleaner, better life. But they're so vulnerable to these toxins. So if you take 3 generations of women that are here, if you take the daughter and the mother and the grandmother, there has been more evolutionary genetic change within their DNA in these 3 generations than there has in the past 2,000 years of women. So we have a huge assault that's coming on there. Now, if you want to disregard it, well, you certainly can. Oh, it's not, I'm okay now, but you're not going to be okay soon. These things change. The only constant thing is really change. And so if we know what the causes are now, and this is where science is so good, we can do something specific about it. So now you sit there, and let's say when you're young, you have stem cells in this range, all functioning. But then as you get older, the functionality is going down and down. So what happens, all these that have gone dormant? Pretty soon you got this big amount that is dormant, this small amount that is active, and it's decreasing with it. Well, the H pill can come in and take these that are still there, and it can overhaul the motor, so to speak. That's basic terminology. It's easy to comprehend. Just like a motor runs out with time and wear, your stem cells do the same thing too. But it has its own internal mechanism within it to repair, regenerate itself, and restore itself to like it was. And so that's a complex product. And while people talk about NAD, that's only part of the story. The thing you have to do is the plaquing, because it consumes a lot of glucose, sugar, oxidizes it and gets sticky, and it just gums up the organella that's within the stem cell itself. So it starts like plaque on your teeth. It's exactly the same process with it. Then the other thing is, since stem cells will put out millions of cells in their lifetime, many of these, and when that happens, of course, they start wearing out and things they have taken a lot of nutrients, produce it, and they divide, taking all those nutrients to a set cell. Then it divides and goes away, and you're left with what you have left. And that happens again. That happens again. So as that kind of thing happens, it takes a tremendous amount of nutrition, and everything that goes into the cell does not come out of it. It doesn't come out of it when it divides. It does when it divides, and the byproducts from metabolic activity, because they're just like the Krebs cycle within your stem cell to create energy is 27 separate steps in order to get through the Krebs cycle. And that's just one of the cycles going on. So as the organella make these different types of changes within it, what happens is there's cellular garbage left over, and there's portals in a hole, just like in your sink, the basin, you have a hole. Okay, well, if you pull the plug up, then it shuts and it'll hold the water. You let it go, it goes out. But what happens is it's letting things out. But fat soluble molecules of a certain type, of course, are not really soluble in water. These are absolutely insoluble in water, and they build up, and they're sticky. So they start sticking together because they're fatty structures. And so it becomes larger. The glob becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And since the inside of your cell is cytoplasm, which is water-based, suddenly it's getting plugged up with oil-based contamination, liable fusion, which is impeding the transfer of nutrients, the discharge of waste and all that, and you're full of cellular garbage. And so as a consequence, we address that. So the first one blacking up, that's called glycation. See, it's from the glucose that is oxidized. So that films and coats and sticks and caramelizes and hardens, so the structures can't work. Then you fill up with cellular garbage. Now, if you can produce NAD, you're not going to produce nearly as much of it, and it's going to be all inhibited because of that. So let's deplaque. Let's drain the swamp, so to speak, so that comes out. But the body is doing it. It actually is. But as you age, everything goes down, and as a consequence, if you give the right nutrients to it, they're like nutraceuticals. There's a process called, which is new to most of you, it's epigenetics, and it's the genetic response in the DNA to the nutrients that are there. So a lot of these things that were virtually science fiction and a hypothesis years ago, not many years ago, some of them even 2 or 3 years ago, are now reality and proven and done. The problem is, in my opinion, those that are trying to do something about it, they're taking a quick fix. They're taking a magic bullet, but there is no magic bullet. You need a number of things. There's one maybe that does things the most, but how about the rest of them? You need a lot doing it. And if you do, that's where the total of the effect of the ingredients is greater than the sum of them in a given formulation. So we know what the epigenetics are. We know what the nutraceuticals are that have been discovered, that have been done. And that's what we're putting together in it so you can take care of those stem cells. So now let's go back. Here's all the dormant ones. They're exuding these toxins that cause cancer and degeneration of your organs, your heart, your lung, your eyes, your muscles, all of that. So they're doing all of those things, and they try to attract that immune system to come in and trigger their epigenetic code, or genetic code with epigenetics, create apoptosis, and down they go. And so the body does that. It has the ability to do it, but we just get too deteriorated. Decay, aging is nothing. It's not a disease. It's decay and degeneration. If you end decay and you can regenerate more cells than you're losing, you're going to grow younger. But there's a limit because you've got so much dormant. So here is what the latest discovery coming out is. It's in a science called senolytics. You'll learn that term maybe. But senolytics is where the ingredients are put for epigenetic contact that will support the body's functions to take those dormant, dormant toxic stem cells that are such a serious health hazard and commits apoptosis. It dies, and then it cleans up with it. But where it came, it's like, I tell people, it's like a rose. If you have a rose garden, you have a lot of beautiful roses in it, but as the season goes on, if you don't do anything with it, pretty soon most of them have lost their petals, and you only have a few that are there. But if you go out and you snip it off at the bud, it'll grow a brand new rose. This is the same principle that we're talking about here with stem cells that are senescent, dormant. And so we have the ingredients. This is what is so fabulous. This research is being done by one of the major research centers in the world. You would all know them on what they're doing. They found one thing. Well, they found a few others, but they're concentrating on one which is the best. And they're correct for my knowledge is it's for the best. But they're trying to make a synthetic molecule out of them. They're doing some patents because you can't patent a God-given ingredient, natural ingredient with it. So as that happens, they're anticipating that a monthly treatment of senolytics to trigger the apoptosis, the cell death, and then a new stem cell pops up, new, young, like you were before, that pops up, and they figure it's between a $2,000 and $5,000 a month sale that they'll make to people that can do it. Well, who can afford that? And they say, well, maybe my insurance will cover it. What do you think your premiums are going to be on that kind of thing? So all of those different factors are going. Now, I've gone on for a fair amount of time on it to tell you what these are, and the system is incomplete without senolytics. So we are moving boldly where no one has gone before, and I have a senolytic formulation ready to deliver to you, and I'm going to deliver it within a month. It is not one, count them, it is 6 of the most different, diverse senolytic agents that you've ever seen in your life. They have immense amounts of power for apoptosis with stem cells, and there's 220 varieties, so one size does not fit all. But I think what we have is we can pretty well get them all to do it. So suddenly this field of dormancy with a small field of activity, now you'll start to build it back and come back. And with that, that's why I think it's greater than even the age field, which is taking what's declining and bringing it up. This takes what is dormant and brings it back, and the age field is bringing them up. And the two of them together, 1 and 1 is not 2. It's like 100 with what this thing can do. The only other factors is you have to keep there's a mechanism that keeps the cells going, and it's called telomeres, and they tell it when to divide and how often. You lose units every time a new cell divides because those telomeres are used for the network to weave the new cell on. So as telomere rates go down, you lose cells. And when you lose cells because it's not telling it to duplicate as often. So that's where TSX comes in, because it supports the telomeres to remain long, and they calibrate your biological age. Right now they're doing it through telomeres, and they say when you're born, you got about 10,000. When you die, you're down between 5,000 and 6,000. You lose 8 to 10% after you're grown. After you get up to about 18 or 20, you lose 8 to 10% every 10 years with it. So of your telomere lengths. So as the time goes, the rate of duplication starts to go down. See, so TSX can come back in. It works through epigenetics too. It works in the stem cells to take them, because only stem cells have telomeres on the chromosomes, to support the mechanisms to keep them long and dividing all of the time as fast as you want it. So that's the key one. So if you have the age pill, you have TSX to support long telomeres. You're supporting the repair with the age pill. You're supporting long telomeres with TSX, and then you bring the senolytics in, and you have the ones that have become dormant through a lifetime of use that are there creating a serious health hazard. Shazam, they're gone. They won't all go like that, but they'll start going, kind of like playing notes on a piano. You know, you hit so many and you get a certain sound. The more you do it, the more you lose. So if you lost them all, probably kill you. You'd be very sick, and there's no science for that. But here's the point. What we have figured out is, I've got the formula based on the sciences of their sake. It's been a mind-boggling work to get this down. But now with it, we have it to where if you're really taking this product, you're going to see effect that's going to be gradual, getting better, 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 better. And so this is going to be an unusual product, because I was initially going to call it the bomb, because what it does, it works like a bomb. If you drop a bomb, it blows up, things explode, and there's all kind of rubble. Then you got to clean it up. Well, that's the elementary explanation of the mechanism, what it's just done. So as that happens, you'll take some capsules, 3. You'll take those every other day, and only one time in the day. You take them all at once, and you take them every other day. Now, if you feel it's maybe making you a little queasy, then take it every 3rd day with it. But I think for most of us, just calculating this, so it's a guesstimate, but every other day, a day to bomb, a day to clean up the debris from the apoptosis, that these epigenetic reactions that cause the cells to deteriorate are cleaned up by the immune system. Bomb it one day, clean it up the next, and you can bomb it again. So you get more and more and more and more, and you start coming back up. These that were dormant will start coming back up. Those that are declining will come up. And pretty soon, East meets West, and what have you got? A new you. In fact, scientists are Aubrey de Grey, who's probably the greatest and most knowledgeable one of that, says that he sees in the concept that he sees the immortality as possible. I see that too. And it's not because it's unusual or it's quackery, because it is happening right now. And there's organisms that live, you can send them into space where everything dies. They come back alive and they continue to function with it. You can put them in the hottest water or fluids and they don't die. They come back. These things are biologically driven. So now that we have science has improved so much, we're able to find out what they are, determine it, and then see what discoveries have been made on this specific situation, and we just keep the file building and going as we get it. Now we're to the point of where we could have come out with a single product. It ain't enough with our senolytic formulation. It ain't enough with the age pill. It ain't enough with TSX. But put together, we've got complex formulas there to do those three jobs. Now, the only thing that's really left is, how was this world created? Do you know there'd be no life on Earth if it wasn't for the sun? And of course, yeah, I think I'm kind of a dummy. I have to tell you that. You know that. I'm not a dummy, but here's the point. What does the sun send down? It sends down sunlight. It sends down ultraviolet light that you can't see. It sends down infrared light that you cannot see, and visible light. All three of them age you, but certain wavelengths, and I won't go through it, but in infrared can actually stimulate skin, hair, a bunch of things like that. But that's the energy. And when they come in, they have photons, have hydrogen, and they come down, and chlorophyll in the leaves split that hydrogen off, and it takes it and it makes, you've heard of hydrocarbons, because there's hydrogen in the carbon that's there. And so what it does is it makes hydrogen-based ingredients that are really the true molecule of life that's there. And hydrogen has enormous power. An atom of hydrogen, a given volume of hydrogen compared with the same volume of gasoline, hydrogen has 3 to 4 times more power and energy in it. And every cell in your body creates it. Well, it doesn't create it. It comes there from the food we eat or supplements that we take. And so we can be depleted because of a variety of things. But here's where the H2 stick comes in. You take that and it floods your body. They estimate in about 2 minutes, you've got hydrogen through your whole body into your 30 or 40 trillion cells virtually. I mean, you can't say absolutely, but you do that. And what does that do? Well, the cells are going through these processes, making things, but to make the energy component in this long series that's through the Krebs cycle, it gets to the point where the NAD, which has been the key thing, and that's what the age pill is designed to maximize with it, is converted to ATP. And at that point, that energy, and then the hydrogen is released, and it's called biological hydrogen. And that, through a conversion process, becomes electrical energy. And that's what you are. You are an electrical entity. You have about 60,000 calculations going on in your brain right now. You have it night and day all the time that you're there, and they're all running on electricity. Every cell within your body is connected to every other cell in your body, and it's not just through one network. So far, they found out just over the last 1 and 2 years that there are 3 networks of electronic communication between cells, so that when you damage something here, another part of it knows how to respond with that. That cellular communication is really significant and important. So when you consider what we can do with hydrogen, which hydrogen gets used up, but if you take the hydrogen with it, you can get it to, and I could get too complex on this, but you can take hydrogen and you make it in foods. There's one last little thing that you need for it, but it goes more with the age pill in the process, and that is you need something that is a methyl donor. Now, that might sound like a chemical, which it actually is, but it's an organic one. But it's what's found in dark green leafy vegetables, things like broccoli, spinach, asparagus, avocados, dark green ones like that. They're loaded with it. So if you put those into your diet, those will turn, they'll release methyl, which is the energy that has to be changed from DNA or from NAD to the ATP has to go through a process called methylation. So that's the only thing. Sometimes people take it and they say, oh, I'm not feeling what I did off it. Yeah, they're probably out of methyl. Their methyl reserves get consumed up if you're getting a tremendous amount of NAD being produced. So it makes sense if we can, you can take something, you can take a supplement. Methylfolate's a good one, or if you want a B12, you can take methylcobalamin or B12 and gives you the methyl that you need for it. That's a little teeny thing. And soon the age pill will contain that in, so you don't even have to look for another supplement. Most people don't need it, but enough do. So we're trying to cover all the bases. Okay, so there's the big mission. We have 4 pillars, just like you have 4 legs on a table to hold this thing up. And these 4 pillars are the age pill, TSX, the senolytic product, and diatomic hydrogen water for doing that. Now, there's a lot of other things you can use for, I mean, we got toes, don't we? You got liver, and you got teeth, and stomach, and all those things, eyes. So we have specific formulations that supercharge that if you're having an issue, or if you don't want to have that issue, use it early on. So you might say, well, gee, I went through life and I've taken all these supplements and nothing's happened. Well, that's kind of a blessing, don't you think? Nothing happened. So now you have a chance for yourself to, if you take your lifespan, and I'm sorry I'm going too long, I'm not trying to speed it up, but if you take your lifespan and you realize that, how many years have you got left? Have you got 20 years? Okay, well, I think, this is a guesstimate, this is the hypothesis with it, but you see it in animal models where it's working with it, and the mechanisms are the same in all mammals within these processes. And we think if you've got 20 years left in your life, and the average lifespan now is down into the mid 70s, okay? Was up in the 80s, now it's down in the mid 70s. But if let's say you were 55 and you had 20 years, you got 20 of the worst years that are coming on. They get worse and worse and worse. And what's worse than spending the last 5 or 10 years in a nursing home where you're batting balloons for entertainment, they're changing your diaper and spoon feeding you. Your body has the ability to avoid that. You can sidestep it if you have the right epigenetic compounds that will work with it. So I'm kind of like the Greyhound bus driver. It said, leave the driving to us. Okay, so I can give you these things. I can tell you enough about them, and you can go out and market them. So with that, you can have great deal of success in your own personal health. How many other people want that? The biggest issue you're going to have is people, because they're going to, oh, I don't believe that. No, it can't work. And they're thinking of the Shazam theory, that they'll take an age pill and they'll wake up and they'll be a teenager again. It doesn't work that way. There's a gradual decline over your lifespan, and there's a gradual incline that can come back just the opposite way. If you know what you're doing, you have the things. Science has advanced to that point that I believe that is theoretically and practically possible to do. So if we put all this together, what are we going to do with it? Well, let's go back to the 10 years we got. We've got about 10 years to build our wealth, to build a dynasty for us. We're not building it for us, we're building it for others, more so than even us ourselves. I know many of you as parents, I would sacrifice everything I had so that my children could have a better life. I truly would do it with it, and you would too. But why sacrifice it for them? Why not make it and share it with them? And that's the opportunity that we have. And now we're talking about the opportunity in Sizzle. And that in itself is greater than the age pill or the senolytic. The best product we have in this business is just exactly that, the business opportunity. So if you can spend your time, work hard, work smart, build a plan, set goals, vision, where are you at? What are you willing to give up so that you can have what you want that's holding you back? What things are? List them out. Are you willing to have a plan? I mean, you drive someplace that's unknown, you have to have a map, or even it's a Google map that's there that tells you how to get there, or you never get there. You don't just drive off and find it. It's the same thing. And so with this, there's a roadmap to success. with what we've got with the telling you how to do it, the training from your sponsors. But your responsibility to your downline is like it is to your children. Because if you raise up, the scripture says, if you raise up a child in the way he should go, when he's old, he will not depart from it. That's really true. And you see so much damage here in America and in other countries too, because of the fathers not being responsible and mothers that have tremendous burdens upon them, because not all, of course, but enough of a section of men are not responsible for their children. So mothers are always responsible. They have a burdensome time to do that, but the two of them, with a father and a mother together, sets the standards, sets the goals, teaches good character development, all of that. Okay, that applies to your downline. So you need to be the parent. These people are the kids that are there. What do you do with your kids? You teach them about hygiene, how to take care of themselves, how to go to school, how to do their homework, all of these different things that they're doing. So you got to do the same thing here. Now we have a way of doing that, a method. If you're going to be a big leader, you need to make it, I'll just tell you right now, you need to decide this year, you're going to personally sign, train, and develop 20 new distributors. And for most people that you get into the company, they're not going to stay. And the reason is not you, as long as you do your part. You don't want to be the reason, because it's difficult to recruit. But this is the point of business where the fortune is in the follow-up. So when you get someone in as a distributor, if you abandon them, that's love them and leave them. And what do you have? Nothing. So if you take them and you train them and you teach them what to do, and you work with them until they are independent enough that they are doing it on their own, that they don't need you, and you get 20 of those people. How many does it take to get through? To get that many? Maybe you recruit 10 and you get 2, that really do it, or 3. But you just build up. If you've got 20 good ones, if you could do that this year, which you really could, you get 12 months. How many of them does that mean? It's not even 2 a month. You have to get, and you're working with all of them, and some of them will get done, and you end up with 20. You know what you're looking at? That potential right there in graphic terms is probably going to make a 6-figure income for you. How big above 6 figures? A lot. We have people, I'm talking about per year, so if you had your commission check was 100,000 for the year, it'd be pretty good. How about 140,000? Who would like 150? How about 200,000? All those things are there. I've had people who have made that much per month before. So we know how to do it, know how it's there. And so here's the main mission of what you're to do. In network marketing, we are in the business. This is our business. We are in the business of recruiting, training, and developing our downline. If we fall short on any of that, we're not going to be successful. And it's not because the company didn't work. It's not necessarily sponsors, but sponsors have got a huge responsibility. And I see a lot of sponsors that are very irresponsible with their downline. And then they complain because they can't seem to build. Well, they haven't trained them. They don't know what they're doing. And if you don't know it, you can always go offline, do that. And there's some basic things they're doing. And I have a tape. It's out. You can get it on YouTube. And it's Tom Maurer. He put it in, Sell Like a Professional. You look that up. It's an 1.5-hour presentation. And I show you the perfect way, absolutely correct way to make sales and presentations and closing on what you're doing and how to be most successful with it. And if you take a pen and paper and you write it down, you can have all of those things. I'm going to recap it because it's really a series of 3s. And like a sale, you have an opening, a presentation, and a close. When you sell products, that's 3. So then when you sell a product, you find a need, you create doubt, you provide a solution. That's 3 again. See, there's a whole series that goes through like that. I put them in the proper, I tell you how to do it right on this tape. This is what you do. Then I give you practical demonstrations of how it works and how it's done so you can understand it. That's the one big thing that this year we're really going to push on, because what we need to do is we need to get the situation to where we are building big, solid, strong organizations of distributors. And so that means following a pattern. Why reinvent the wheel? It's invented. It's there, but most people don't follow that. Sure, you can go to motivational meetings. I saw Tony Robbins, the most famous motivational speaker, and he, a few years ago, gave a recap of what was a disposable income that you have. And at that time, and this was a number of years ago, he said $500 was a disposable income. How did they know that? People were buying a $500 pack, and they went back and surveyed them, and they found out of all the people that bought it, 97% of them never even opened it when they got home. And yet they'd paid flights in, hotels, big training fees, bought the tapes. 97% wasn't even open. They put them right next to their tapes on how to get over procrastination, don't you think? And of the 3% left, only half of those, 1.5%, went through them completely. Now, that's Tony Robbins' business on doing that. He's got lots of good statements for doing things, but what we have is a sequence of exactly what needs to be done, exactly how to do it, and the tools and all of the things. So probably I'm out of time. I'm getting hurt. So what I'm going to do is tell you, get your rear end gear, because this is the big year for you. And I'll turn the time back to you, Kurt.
Hey, Tom, what a great call. You know, I've just been watching everybody with their comments on Facebook. We've got a lot of people watching and a lot more that'll be watching the replay of this. You know, there's so many things I want to ask you. And like you said, you know, we've been going on and on. You and I have been talking here for about an hour and a half since we got started. You know, I think the big question a lot of people have is that, you know, what's the first thing that they need to do? You know, I mean, because even the people that have been in the business for 3, 4, 5 years, you know, a lot of people, they haven't launched their business. And I know that you've got the aptitude in sales. If they were to go out tomorrow, it's Saturday, what can they do just to kind of, you know, get started? Do they want to dip their toes in the water, or do they want to jump in and swim for it?
Well, you should work with people as long as they're willing to work and they're going to develop, work with them. When they won't do it, then who's next? There's a saying, SW, 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 next. Some will, some won't. So what next? That's the way you need to take a look at it. But when you go out, the most important thing is to have a certain amount of preparation. And you go out and you talk about one thing. That's your target item. It can be a product, or it can be the business opportunity supported by products and a compensation plan. But you go out with one thing that you're presenting to people and how to do it. You could write out a script on what you're going to say. This is what I would do. And I did this with one of my boys when they're 14 and a teenager. And I taught them how to go door to door selling household cleaning products. And I had Derek went and made somewhere around 700 presentations before he missed a single sale. And he's using this exact same thing. And then I have Bob come along. Bob went about 400 presentations where he had 100% closure till he missed a sale. Those were 14-year-old boys selling products that are compete with the stuff that's in the stores, but they were so much better, and they're going door to door in their ATVs. So, but I had them write the presentation out, and actually I kind of wrote it out for them. Then I showed them what to study. I showed them how to demonstrate the illustrations to use. And then I said, I walked out, and here's the classic. This answers what you're talking about. I remember we walked out there to the ATV, and they had some paperwork and some samples. So I took my saddlebags off the horse and I threw it over the back of the ATV so they could have, that was sort of like the briefcase as they drove around. And so he looked at me and Derek, he said, "Where do I go?" He didn't know where to go. See, because he didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
And so then I said, okay, we need to draft, and that's what I'm waiting for. Because he was excited. He had his present. He had made the presentation to me a number of times, and I critiqued him on it with it in a very positive way. And then when he was ready, I told him, when you're ready, to go. And so he got out there ready to go out and make all this kind of money. And, but then didn't know where to go. So I told him the plan and how to work a plan. So he wrote his plan down, how he's going to do. And who are you going to call on first? I said, how about the mayor's wife? He said, oh, no way. She's a witch. And she was too. And kids were all afraid of her and not a pleasant person at all. I said, so who do you know that likes you and knows you the best? And he gave me a list of them. Okay, write your list. There's your list. You talk to the people that care about you, that will give you the courtesy of listening to you. And maybe you're not even making a sale, but you're practicing your presentation, and you'll learn more from your failures than you do from not. So all that's part of the plan, and there's ways of doing those things. It can be quite complicated, but my video tells you about all of those things. So the important thing is have a plan, be prepared. How can you succeed if you don't know what you're talking about? And don't become a little Tom. You'll get analysis paralysis if you think you have to learn everything about these products. Sell the benefits. People don't give a hang about the features. What they care about is the benefits. So sell the benefits, and we'll have tech packs for you so you can reinforce. Here, this is where it comes. They work so you can see it. But you need to get your presentation down cold. Write that down if you're writing down. Get your presentation down cold and deliver it hot.
That's right. That's right.
Do it with it and have a plan of where you're going. And the fortune is in the follow-up. So once you got somebody in and sign, you'll get some retail customers. Great. But you know what? We're in the business of recruiting, training, and developing distributors. And that's what you should be doing.
That's right. And Tom, I've got a copy of that video. I watched it last night, the video that you've been referring back to. And so anybody that's watching this call tonight, if you want to watch that video with Tom, let me know. I'll, just message me on Facebook or email me, and I'll send you over a copy of that training that Tom's talking about. And, Tom, I think, what the message that everybody's getting is that we do have some answers for anti-aging. And if we go out there and we build a huge network, 20 people in 2020, so 20 in 2020, we can really have some spectacular things happen in the next decade, which is basically what you're saying. If we don't do this, we may be left behind economically, depending on our government to pay for what we're going to be living on.
That's correct. And if you think of this term, if you get 20 good ones that you've trained, maybe you went through 50, maybe you went through 100. I know a sales company they say, what do I do? And they say, go out and make 10 presentations. Guy'd come back and said, how'd you do? I didn't sell anybody. What do I do now? Go make 10 presentations again. Go back, come back. And this is a true story. Never made a sale. What do I do now? Go out and make 10 more presentations. This time he came back and he said, I got one.
Got one.
That is the beginning with this thing. And if you'll do that, these 20 good people that takes a lot of work on, and you got this year to do it, because then you can generate exponential growth. And 20 good people like that working the way that you are and the way that they should be, that 20 people can turn into 20,000 a month for many of you. And now it's not the majority, but how about 2,000? How about 5? How about 10,000 a month? Yeah. And you get to a certain point where you can't afford to work at your job any longer with it. And I've seen that happen with literally hundreds of thousands or thousands of people within my previous company and even here that's doing it. So that's what you need to do to be successful.
All right. Well, Tom, thanks for being with us tonight. I wish you a happy weekend and a happy new year. And I look forward to having you back on the call probably in January before I head down to Australia. I've got a big trip planned down there. I get out of this cold weather and go hang out with some really fun people and a great country.
Yeah, I heard on the news this morning that those fires they have down there, they're the biggest in history. And they burned the fire burn area that's from the big burn there is greater than 6 of the states here in America all put together.
Oh, no.
And you're heading for it.
Well, let's hope that's all done with by the time I get there, and prayers to all of you down in Australia. And wow, I mean, I feel sorry for everybody that's involved with that.
It's darn hard, but I'll tell you what, the Aussies are really special. And you can say that about people. They are really special. They're hardworking, and they will take the tough task and do it. But it's just when you're battling Mother Nature, what can you do? You can battle it the best you can.
Battling Mother Nature and the government. But yeah, well, that's another discussion.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thanks, Tom. Have a happy New Year, and everybody that's joined us tonight. Get out there and let's go out and share this with people. Let's do exactly what Tom said. Go out and 2020, find 20 in 2020, and not just 20 people, but 20 good people that are going to go out and do the exact same thing that you're doing.
Because you're doing it with them until they can do it on their own the way that you want them to, that you can do it.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.